We're ready. Good morning, everyone. Gary Whiting here. We're at the beautiful location of Tree Bones in Big Sur, California. I have a school going right now, and we're in the midst of we're on hump day. We're hitting the middle of the week, and it's been a fantastic school. We've covered a number of things that I thought I wanted to put on video. A couple of things. One, I wanted to show you a horse's foot, the way it's really supposed to look like, because one of the things I teach in my program is hoof care. You're going to notice that when you go onto my website, you're going to notice that my program is really about function, about reality. None of this memorization of useless anatomy that has nothing to do with anything except to make somebody feel good because they memorized, what, 600 muscles? For what? The bottom line is always, in my journeys, has always been production, progress. Can you do it? Can you fix the problems, not how many muscles I can recite? And in reality, in the real world, it doesn't even matter. That's why I don't do much in the way of anatomy in my program. But what I do is cover important things, like the foot of the horse, the hoof of the horse. That's a pretty important part of my program. Why? What does that have to do with massage, you might be asking? A lot. If the foot isn't right, it's going to create a lot of stress in these muscles, in the skeletal system. When you consider that a shoe increases the concussion factor by 60 to 80%, what's that going to do to the muscles? What's that going to do to the joints? What's that going to do when a horse jumps and lands? What's it going to do to the atlas when that shock travels up to this horse's skeletal system and muscular system? Well, we need to know these things. We need to know why these feet aren't right and why we're having our problems. And it's going to make your job a lot easier. And then as you understand this, you can explain to your clients why they're going to have massage done on their horse on a regular basis, because of those shoes. We're also going to look at how the foot is supposed to be placed on the ground instead of a concavity like we have on most horses, with the frogs cut back and the hooves up in the air, and there's no support on the sole of the foot. We now have coffin bone issues because, like an old building with sagging roof, if it doesn't have enough support, it sags. Well, if there's not enough support on the bottom of this foot, the coffin bone is going to drop down to the sole. And so we're going to show you a good foot. These horses are, this is a Mustang Draft Cross. A horse by the name of Lottie belongs to John Handy, and the other one over yonder belongs to John's wife, Corinne. This horse had real attitude problems, social problems before I worked on it, and it's a whole different horse now. It's not scary. And these horses run wild up in the mountains, and they bring them down for my program, or they'll come down and they'll go up and get their horses and go for a ride. But they have to go about 2 hours to get to their horses because these are free roaming horses. So let's go into looking at the foot right now, and I'm going to point out a couple of things that are important. The first thing I want you to notice, if you can pan the camera, you'll see how low the heel is. It isn't high, it's low. And you can see how short the toe is. It isn't a long toe. And you'll also, if you can get a good look at this, we'll eventually pan in to where we can look down at this foot, and you can see how round this foot is rather than oblong. When we put shoes on the horse, we take the natural round foot and we end up going oval with it. Because what happens is the breakover happens to be placed out on the toe instead of back behind the toe. And so since it's on the toe, every time that horse comes up, it does this. If you can look at my hand, it slings that toe forward and elongates it rather than rolling over free. So this starts to happen. When this happens, the hoof is now drawn forward and the heels contract in and the frog gets narrower. So we're going to, let's bring the camera over right now, and I want you to look at how round this foot is. This is a stable foot. Side to side, medial lateral, you have a good plant. This has a good foundation. Other horses have a narrow, with the shoes they have that narrower look, which now brings in their medial lateral foundation, and you can get joint problem because you get a an easier rocking motion because it's not as planted or as stable as it should be. So now you affect different joints all the way through this horse's legs. Alright, now we're going to bring the camera around, and I'm going to pick this foot up, and we're going to show you the back of the foot, or actually the bottom of the foot. Since they do not have a hoof pick here, because they never have to pick their horse's feet, we'll use my trusty Kabbalah. This is my Gerber utility knife that does it all, with my surgical steel blade. I'm doing surgery here. You're right. Okay, so now we're starting to see something really beautiful here. We're seeing a foot that touches the ground. The whole foot is on the ground. Maybe I should have picked this before we started, but it's kind of fun to pick it and discover that we got a foot that doesn't, it's kind of like a surprise. It's like a beautiful foot because it's functional. All right, so what you have, here's your frog. If I lay this edge across my blade, my knife, this whole foot touches this knife. It isn't concavity where it just touches from here and here. When a farrier comes out, after he gets his shoe off, the first thing he does is he takes his blade and he slices back this frog. The frog is a concussion device. It's a shock absorber. And it also is an anti-skid device. When you put metal on a horse's foot, they skid. And when you take this below the surface of, if you put a shoe on, you're going to have this. This doesn't even touch. So now you have a skid problem and nothing to control. So now you have instability on asphalt or on rocks. But this grabs a hold. If you see it's soft, it has a give to it. It's not spongy. It's kind of like a leather. And that stops the skid, gives better traction. So that's an important thing to understand, is that frog. Also this making contact from here to here and the whole foot touching. Now imagine if this doesn't touch the concavity you're going to have. You're going to have a hollow. Now let me talk a little bit more about this hollow. If you were to take a coffee cup at Starbucks, put the lid on it, and there's nothing underneath that lid. That lid is only supported on the rim of the cup, right? Press in the middle, and let's say your finger is a coffin bone. So you got pressed in the middle, and that is going to give, okay? That's going to give because there's no support. Well, this coffin bone now is not supported anymore by the ground or the earth because the earth isn't there. It's elevated. So now this coffin bone, upon impact, can slowly work its way down to the sole of the foot. Now take that same lid on your coffee cup off, flip it over, stick the lid on the table, and press down on the center of that lid with the flat side down. That lid is making contact with the table. So when you push on it, you go, look at that. It doesn't move. Again, put it back into, flip it over, push it down. You can see the give because no support. Well, as you just saw in this horse's foot, the whole foot is on the ground. So now the coffin bone, the whole structure, is supported. All right, so that, I just wanted to bring that just as get you something to think about. I cover a lot more in the program on these feet. And again, as I said from the beginning, there's nothing in my program that's useless. It's all for the real world. So I hope you enjoyed that little presentation. Now we're going to go into, the next clip is going to be me actually massaging the horse. In my video that you have, perhaps the instructional video, I show you what to do in different places. But no one's ever seen me on video actually do a horse. So that's what we're going to do now. And my students are here. They're watching this. And they're going to be able to see how I do a horse, and before they actually do their, I call it a non-test test. I don't do any tests in my program. The only thing is, can you massage a horse? And the material I give you, the binder with everything in it, about that thick. But everything I teach in my program, I give it to you. There's no guessing. I want you to learn, so you're going to get everything you need. That includes saddle fitting. That includes the stretching. And